Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens. Ask me almost anything. Oh my goodness, one of my cameras has gone out. I apologize. It's been a while since I've done this. We seem to have a couple of issues. There we go. Hey, my name is Glenn Gers. I come to you every Tuesday and Thursday, if I can make it, at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Zone for an hour of stuff about writing for screens. Different things, different days. Today it's an Ask Me Anything. Other days I will be analyzing scripts I have written, or talking about screen history, or taking on a topic in the area I call I Have Thoughts. Hello, there's some people here. That's so nice. Hello, CG. Yes, welcome back. I took a 2-month break from live streaming in order to get some other stuff done. I appreciate all the questions about my novel, but that's not what I was getting done. What I was getting done was the 20 videos, lesson videos. This is something I should tell for the people who do not know. On this channel, I have a couple of playlists, which I call the lesson videos. It's on this, as you can see here, the little thumbnail of what my channel looks like. The first 3 playlists from the top are Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. This is where I have now coming up on 50 little lessons. Each lesson is about 10 minutes. And I try to give them a topic, very specific topic, to get a very specific set of useful tools and skills. And the name of it is always right there. The thumbnail has the name. You cannot miss it. If you want to know about what I think about genre or process or dramatic action, that's where you go. I beg you to look at those, because that's where what I have to offer is. It's free, 24/7, broken into little pieces for you. Hey, everyone's here. This is so nice. Hello, Sonia. Very glad. Thank you so much. So glad that you're here. Tavikins Turner. Hi. Hi, Joni Doe Shadow and Doug Richard. Thank you, Gig McFish. I am glad to be back too. This is quite a thing. So where was I? 2 months off. I was making those videos. It takes about a week to shoot and edit one of those videos. It takes months to write them. I've been writing them for a year. I piled up 20 scripts, and then I just spent the past weeks shooting and editing as many as I could. So I've been dropping them on Sunday mornings, because that's when YouTube tells me the most people are watching. And that's what I've been doing. I am planning, now that those are almost all done, to finally get into writing my novel, which I will talk about now and then. But today our topic is, what's with this writer's strike? What's up? What's going on? There's a writer's strike. The Writers Guild of America, which is the union of people who write for TV and movies in the USA, is on strike. 1 month today, I believe. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I am also open, of course, to your questions. And then I'm going to answer some comments that I've gotten in the past few weeks. And that's what we're doing. So let's get to it. What's with this writer's strike? Hold on a second, because I got a quick yes. Hi, Tavana. I had a feeling it was you. And I'm so glad that you've been working on scripts. That is the thing. All of you should be constantly go writing something. That's really if you get nothing else from me, that's what I have to say. The more you write, the better for you, the more likely you are to figure out stuff. I'm just going to drop you hints and tips and tools and tricks to help you face that your way. Okay. So the Writers Guild strike. The first thing I have to tell you is I am a member of the Writers Guild, have been for over 25 years, and I am extremely happy and grateful to be that. I do not have any inside information. The negotiating committee, which is the people who are actually operating the strike, the ones who are trying to get the deal changed, they're not going to tell us all stuff, because if they tell us stuff, we'll talk about it here, and then the other side will know, and that's just not good. It's also just it's unprofessional. It's not right to go, talking behind the backs. These people are negotiating a deal in good faith, and they are. They are truly doing that, or they're trying to. The other side has not communicated to us for a month. That's just a little bit of the picture there. Hello, Flying Over Trout. Oh, well, I'm sorry you got laid off your job. I do wish that you had the job instead of watching me, because you can watch me anytime. And I hope you get another job soon, because we need jobs. That's the thing. All right. So about We Need Jobs, the Writers Guild, people are asking me what's going on with this. One thing is, this has been one of the better covered Writers Guild strikes. The media is into it. And you can just search on your favorite search engine and you'll find a lot of information about it. And what's interesting to me is how much the media is rather positive about the strike, which was not true in 2007, 2008, the last time that I was on strike with my union. That we were really slammed by everyone for doing a bad thing. Now people are like, I think they have good reason. So let's talk about those reasons. The main issues, there are many, many very specific and detailed issues. If you go on the Writers Guild website, they have a list of their positions and the AMTP's responses to those positions. They're very technical because this is a business. Oh my gosh. That is so great. Thank you. Yeah, if any of you are in Los Angeles or New York or other places where there's picketing and you want to just go, you are welcome to join the strike, join the picket line, show support. That would be super cool. You will be welcomed. I can tell you that. A lot of the people, when I have been on the picket line, I'll meet someone, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm an actor, but I thought I'd come out and support you, or oh, my dad's a writer or something. You are welcome. That is great. The support is deeply, deeply appreciated. The big issues really come down to the fact that the business has changed. I have talked about this multiple times in multiple live streams and in some of my videos. The world has changed. The entire world is undergoing a change, not, at least historians are saying, not unlike the Industrial Revolution, the last big change in human society, or the Agricultural Revolution some 10,000 years before that. It's a big deal what is happening with the digital revolution. Things are changing in many, many scary ways, and exciting ways. Let's not lie about that. Hello, Maratolatoso. Good to see you too. Hang on, Duandra. I will get to you in a second. Cool. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to put this on hold for a second while I finish up my info about the other question, and then I'll get back to you. I swear it. Okay. There we go. All right. The main issues have to do with the fact that the business changed for a century. The business was in the business of making motion pictures to play in theaters, and then they got, as the generations went on, they got second, what are called windows, downstream opportunities to get to the audience and bring in revenue. First thing was, things went to theaters, you sold tickets, box office was counting the tickets sold, and that's how you knew how much money a movie had made. Then that movie was sold to TV or DVD or whatever, and those extra scenes. When the original deal that the union struck was, we need to have a standardized pay for this work. Like everyone who's working on a movie should get a basic standard minimum. You can get more if they want it, but at least you have a minimum, that you have benefits, that you get health insurance and pension. Those are things that were built into what was a union job. You went to a factory, you clocked in, and you did your work, and you did what you were told. That's how writers in screen industry work. Recently, that changed because new technology was invented, new ways to distribute entertainment to the public. They are streaming. That's the thing. All of a sudden, and the main ways, the theaters, the broadcast networks, DVD, all those things are going away. There will be some broadcast TV, there will be some theaters, but the main revenue is now going through digital streaming. When digital streaming started, right before the last strike, the unions said, hey, we don't have a deal for wages and time worked and things like that for this new technology. And the company said, well, it's a new technology, so old deals don't apply. That's what the last strike was over, because they were saying, hey, for this new streaming stuff, you don't get minimum pay. You don't get everything. It was shockingly crude. And the thing they said was, we don't know how this is going to go. Now, obviously, they invested billions of dollars in it. I think they knew how it was going to go. And now it has gone. It is happening. So the big question becomes, why are the companies still saying, A, we don't know how this streaming thing is going to work out financially, and B, it's not the same as all the other ways that you write entertainment and then we present it. So therefore, all the union deals in the past don't count. We don't think you deserve as much. Hi, Victoria. I am so glad, and thank you. And you're awesome too, because there's no point in me doing this if you are not getting something from it and watching and asking questions. And I love that. Thank you for being here, Victoria. Hi, Diggiest Dog. Would love to ask, how do you juggle exciting without revealing? That's a good question. I will get to that after I've ranted about the union question, because people asked. Okay, so the basic things that have changed is, it used to be that there was a regulation length of time type of work for a screenwriter or a TV writer. If you were a TV writer, you were hired weekly to work for a set number of weeks. The seasons ran basically, they would run enough to make about 22 to 25 episodes, which they would then run twice. There's called reruns. And so that took a year. That was a year's work. And so you signed on for a job, you got a year's work at a weekly pay. It was a job. Now, because streaming has changed the format of shows, there are shows that have 6 episodes and then come back a year later. There are shows that have, 14, 13, whatever. Every season is different. So the streamers started to say, well, we don't have to pay for whatever the work was that the networks were doing. The other thing is that the form of work, the way that you worked on a show, was very set. You would come in, everyone would sit together and figure out the season. They would start to break down the episodes. They would write them as they were going along. While they were shooting the season, they were writing the next episodes, very often right up to the line. Streaming, they started to say, you know what? Let's just do 6, write them all, shoot them all, then we'll put them on. Which is cool in many ways. But what that means is, your work then is, I have 6 weeks work. They started to do this thing called mini rooms. Mini rooms is that they would say, okay, we're going to have one bunch of writers, maybe more advanced writers, come in and figure out the stories. Then we'll fire them and hire less experienced writers who we can get cheaper to actually write the scripts. We'll do that. In this case, the people who come up with the stories were fired, and the people who were writing the scripts are not necessarily in communication with the people who came up with the stories. And then they were all fired before the shooting started. Usually the writers are involved in the shooting because things happen, things change, you need to work on it. You need to have someone there who can say, oh yeah, let's move that scene around, or let's change that location. All fired. So what the companies have been doing is simply saying, essentially, let's make writers into gig workers. We need you for a couple hours, come in for a couple hours, we'll do that, and that's it. Obviously, the people who are doing this job then have to run around trying to get jobs every 6 weeks, which obviously is not going to work well. Plus, very often the contracts will hold you. They'll say, you're going to work for us for 6 weeks, but then you can't look for another job because we may need you again. So you're held for 6 months until we decide. There's just a lot of unfairness going on there. Second of all, hi, Michael. Hang on a second. I have not used it. I have serious reservations about using it. I've talked about that a couple of other times. I will put a link in the description on my thoughts on that because I did a whole episode on that. And then if a time at the end of this episode, I will go back over it because it's a question that gets asked a lot. Cool question. Okay, so the other thing that's happening is that, for instance, features. It used to be that if you wrote a feature script, a movie, you were hired for 3 steps. You wrote a first draft, you met with them, they gave you notes on what they wanted to change, you wrote a second draft, called the second step, and then you did a polish, which was a smaller set of notes. They could add more steps if they wanted to keep working on it, and they usually did, but every writer was guaranteed a set of chances to get the script right. Because, as we know from everything I've ever said, writing is rewriting. You don't get the whole thing right at once, especially if you're working with other people who have other ideas and they don't even know what you're doing fully until you hand them the script. Everybody talks about what a script's going to be like, but until you have written it, it doesn't exist and nobody knows. So you'll say, there's going to be a scene where they meet cute. Then you're going to write a scene where you say it's meet cute. The executive may say, I don't think that's very cute. Not cute enough. Cute enough. And therefore you have to go rewrite that scene. That's the second step. Sometimes there's 10 steps, but at least you want the second step. But now the new deal is you write 1 step. If they have notes, they can fire you and hire someone else. And in fact, that the 3 steps are gone. Everyone gets a 1-step deal. In other words, once again, it's like gig work. Let's see if we like this writer. If we don't like what they're doing, let's just dump them quickly again, as opposed to collaboration in which you work with people, because writing is rewriting. You have to share your thoughts. You have to say, oh, I think this should be longer, and I think that should be shorter, and I think that should be in a different place. That's what writing is, and writers have to do that in collaboration with the producers and the directors and the actors, and that requires steps. Studios are saying, nope, bad for business. We don't want one of those writers that we've decided we don't like or is too expensive. We can hire a cheaper writer the next time, or we can just keep hiring writers for small deals, and overall we will save money and we have creative control. It's bad. It's just bad. Plus AI, another issue which partly Michael Jode's question comes up. Can the companies start to have AIs write the stories? For instance, they could say, we're going to feed some prompts into an AI, we're going to have it come up with an outline, and then we'll hire a writer to actually write it. And writers are saying, no, that's not okay. It's not okay for a couple of reasons. I mean, for me, it's not okay partly because what kind of garbagey work is that going to produce? But even if it produced brilliant work, you are essentially throwing a writer out of work and making them secondary to a robot. Obviously, the union is going to protest that. Okay. All right. Okay, let me just quickly say. So, hi, Matt. I love that you love this. This is great. I am so... what wonderful responses I'm getting. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Yeah. This is... Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm trying actually just to talk to me. I believe there is a me of us inside all of each other, and that the more that you speak honestly about me, the more you will connect generally. Okay. The studios have last year streaming execs made 0. Okay, that is not true. That is not a fact. Streaming executives make a lot, and I will get to that in a minute. Yeah. Okay. You are welcome. I'm glad. No doubts. If I'm not coming back, I will tell you, but I'm trying to stay in. Okay. Greetings to you, Hofner. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. All right, so quickly. There are other things that are coming up. They weren't in the list of WGA demands, but I do believe they're come up. One is being on set. As I said, when you are filming something, it is useful if the writer is experienced in the production process, which writers were trained to be in the past, to have the writer on the set, because changes need to be made on the set. I was on the set every day for many of the things that I had shot. The times that I couldn't, it was because I couldn't afford to be there because they were inexpensive productions and they were out of the country or out of the state, and I couldn't go for that long, but I went for a couple of weeks. Anyway, the point is, the new plan is have the writers write the scripts, fire them, and then we'll just figure it out on the set with other people. Once again, thinking of writing and creating entertainment as some kind of gig work where somebody can be hired and replaced interchangeably. It does not matter if the writer is the same writer who wrote the lines who does the rewrite. That's not how it works, like to actually get the good material. The other thing that's come up is non-compete clauses, which apparently are happening. There are clauses which say if you leave a show, you are not allowed to work on any other shows for a year, which is crazy. And by the way, there is a general non-compete thing going on in corporations. Corporations, and I've read about this in the New York Times did an article about non-compete clauses for people working in a hair salon, and then they couldn't work again in that within a 5-mile radius of their hometown to get another job if they left the hair salon. This is a major new corporate move, and it's ugly. It's ugly and it's bad. Okay, but the big question then becomes, a lot of people are saying, why isn't the writers, when you say you need more pay or whatever, you get an enormous amount. Screenwriters are paid more than any other kind of writers. How can you say that that's not enough? And yeah, that's certainly true. Screenwriters, when they work, get paid more than almost any other kind of writing, more than theater writers unless they're stars, and much more than book writers unless they're stars. Your basic screenwriter gets better pay than other writers. That is partly because it's the only writing that has a union. In the 1930s, the writers for movies decided to trade copyright, can trade ownership of the work for having a union because it was so factory oriented. The point is that without the union, we wouldn't have those fees. We wouldn't have those pensions. We wouldn't have all that. The union is doing a good thing. Now, the question is, why isn't that enough? There's a couple of reasons why it's true. Partly, yes, it's true. If you work in these industries, you have to live in the places where the cost of living is much higher. And also, yes, if you got paid $30,000 for a movie script, that's a lot of money. However, that may be 6 months' work, and then you may not work again for a year, at which point your pay starts to stretch out, and that $30,000 is now $15,000 a year, which is not that much money. Still a lot of money for the arts, sure. But since it's a full-time job, you can't do it after hours. Nobody's going to say, hey, write this next Marvel movie when you're done with your day job. When a writer works for a screen company, they are under extreme demands to write a great deal, a lot of the time at a very high level of skill, which takes time and training and experience to get. So, yeah, of course, it's writing. It's an art. Why aren't you just happy to be getting paid at all? Because during the time that you are doing it for these very short, intense bursts, you are playing professional ball. You are working at the highest possible level, and you have no other way to make money. So that's partly fair. But the other thing is simply because the amount of money that the company is making is large enough to share. That's really what it comes down to. Honestly, I find this fascinating. Where did we get this attitude of why are you complaining that you make minimum wage? Why is it not assumed that we should all be getting decently paid, good working conditions and benefits? Everybody in the United States of America should be well paid. I'm talking teachers, nurses, they're all underpaid, okay? They are all having bad working conditions because the companies that they are working for are saying, if we cut down on the break rooms, if we cut down on the break times, if we had one less staff member, we would have a larger amount of income for the executives and the stockholders. And that's just not right. The cool thing is the writers, A, have a union and are organized, and B, are willing and able to strike. So yeah, that's why. Are they as underpaid as nurses, as teachers? No. Are they able to stand up because of the situation that they're in? Yeah. And therefore, I think we should. So that's my, because I was an office temp in the 1988 strike. And I was working at an executive marketing, a management consulting firm. And the manager of that office saw that I had a little strike pin and ranted to me about these spoiled writers and who are they to ask for more money. And I thought it was shocking to me that people didn't understand that pay that is proportional to the income of the company should be like it shouldn't even be a question. Why are companies not paying more to the workers? One thing that's been happening is that the overall, globally, nationally and globally, a philosophy has developed over the past 50 years in which the belief is a trickle-down belief that if the companies are supported, if they get tax breaks, if they are rewarded financially, if the top executives and the shareholders are rewarded, they will invest more in the economy. This has been economically, scientifically proved not to be true. When the executives and the shareholders are rewarded more, they take the money for themselves. They do not split it up among the rest of the company. The percentages of executive pay compared to worker pay in the 1950s and 60s was relatively, I think it was 2 or 3 times. Somebody was maybe making 2 or 3 times what their workers did. Now it's something like 200 times. There has become this bizarre all or nothing investor belief. And so therefore, when they say the companies are being hurt because streaming revenues are down, I just briefly have to talk about this because, for instance, almost all these companies spent an extraordinary amount setting up their companies. They gave certain writers $300 million deals. Netflix spent unlimited money on its productions, on its purchases, on its buying power in order to buy an audience, which they did at a certain point, but they were never getting a profit. And the theory was at a certain point, they would start to make a profit. That has not worked out like they thought. Just like so many other tech companies, they will spend an extraordinary amount in order to raise the profile of the company. However, that does not necessarily create profits. To then, having done that, to say, okay, we need our Uber drivers to take a pay cut because we spent too much and we can't figure out a way to make the business run on that. However, they did not cut their own profits and shareholding. That, to me, is where the strike starts. Okay, so just briefly, also, many of these, like HBO Max. HBO Max is now cutting shows and cutting jobs and cutting a lot of things because they did a buyout to another corporation in which they incurred debt. That had nothing to do with the entertainment to the customer. It had nothing to do with the workers. It was simply a bunch of people with stock trading to other people with stock and including in that debt. And now they are trying to get the debt out by cutting the product, taking away the product. I don't understand why people are not protesting this all over the place. Okay. All right. People are asking a lot of questions, so I'm not going to rant any further. If people have questions about the strike and want to know more, I will be happy to talk. I will say the one thing that I do want to say, people saying, how long will it go on? The answer is it could go on a very, very long time, except I do believe that the other unions are lining up with us because we are all agreeing on the same problem, which is the companies are unfairly profiting and giving the money to the shareholders and to the executives and not to the workers or the consumers. And the way that you know this is there was just on the front page of the New York Times and I believe the Wall Street Journal, an article talking about how corporations across the board in the past 4 or 5 years have raised prices astronomically, creating inflation. They did that because there was supply chain problems in the pandemic. Having done that, when the supply chain problems went away, they continued to raise the prices. There is now no reason to keep raising prices. There is no point to that except to increase their profits, which have gone up. So, okay. Lots of questions. Let's talk about it. First off, I'm going to go in chronological order from these questions, which means Dewanda asked me, let me get back to you, Dewanda. All right. How should I go about selling a screenplay and how much they sell for? Okay, there's 2 ways that a screenplay can sell. One is union and one is independent, non-union. In order to sell into the union, you've got to sell to a company that is already signed to the union, a Hollywood company. And the answer is, I would beg you to not worry about selling. I would beg you to think about making things that you can either make yourself or have other filmmakers who are not in the business make. The more that you try to work towards selling when you are a beginner, the more that you limit your ability to actually learn this stuff. Because the way that you learn it is from doing it. There is a tremendous amount of stuff out there about selling. First of all, I beg you to watch my videos. I get into a lot of that, especially the 4th playlist actually is called The Business. There's 3 or 4 videos there. But my first 3 playlists, Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tool Skills Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. I try to talk about a lot of this stuff, but the main thing I want to talk about is the way you sell a screenplay is you get really, really good at writing screenplays, and then you get lucky by sending them out any way you can, anywhere you can, contests, festivals, all that stuff. Watch out. They cost money. You want to choose the ones that you can afford to do. It's better to do a web series and put it out yourself and 30 people watch it than to go broke trying to break through with contests, okay? There is ongoing internet information about that selling stuff. It will be changing every week. A new festival will come up, an old one will be exposed as stealing their people's money. There's nothing you can do except keep a percentage of your time studying the business. There's a thing called Script Magazine. There's a podcast called The Screenwriting Life with Meg LaFauve and Lorian. I can't remember Lorian's last name. McKenna. Great. Those are great resources, but it's just going to be an ongoing thing to learn the business. It never stops. You always have to be keeping an eye on the business. But my main advice, the thing I am valuable for, is to tell you, don't worry too much about the business. Don't think about the business. Assume the business is like professional sports or professional politics, okay? Like if you want to be in politics, if you want to help the world, change the world, make the world a better place because you like getting in there and working on systems, so that's why you would be in politics, okay? The odds of you becoming a senator, a congressman, or a president are very small. The odds of you being able to work in politics work for an NGO, for a nonprofit, to work for a community government, local government, that's where you can do it. If you are good at that, you will be able to get into the higher levels. But that's how screenwriting works too. The top level of screenwriting, the one that you know about, the one where they put shows on TV, that is the hardest one to get into. And the only way that you can get into it is to be already that good. And the only way you can get that good is by doing the work. So I know it sounds crazy, but really, really, the most important thing to do is do a web series, do local theater, write a comic and put it out yourself. Anything you can do to be writing and getting it out to an audience and learning is what you should do. That's how you get good enough. If you are lucky, that stuff will be attractive to the people who see it. All you can do in order to sell is keep working on the work and what you think, how can I make this better? Just between you and yourself, how can I make this better? What can I do that would be more interesting or fun for me as an audience? You should always have you as your first audience. And then show it any way you can afford to. The Blacklist is a good thing. The Nickel Fellowship, festivals. If you can get yourself to go to film festivals, and some of them have screenplay sections where they just have screenplays. Nobody's going to read your script, but it doesn't matter because it's really cool to interchange with the other people doing this thing. So that's what I would have to say to Wanda. I hope that's helpful. All right, let me just quickly scan down because we got a lot going on here. Okay. Wow. So many questions. I am going to try and catch up. I swear it. All right. A question. How to reconcile the strike with people that are not part of the guild or outside the... reconcile in what sense? Reconcile in like justify? I would say the answer is, frankly, honestly, any set of workers who are saying I need to not have my job cut in half, support them. Do the best you can to support them. Will it cause a hardship? May there be a little less entertainment on your TV for the moment? Yes. I think we can live with that. I think it's worth it because right now we have a terrible situation in which a small class of business people are screwing over everybody else in the world. And the only countervailing forces to that are government, which are currently not interested, and unions. And so therefore, I beg you to consider that the best times for people in general in the United States were when unions were strongest, in the time from FDR through Johnson, for those of you who understand American history. Anyway, okay. All right. Diggiest Dog asked, how do you juggle the balance between exciting plot without revealing too much of the story? I just did a video on this called Withholding. I don't have the thumbnail up right now, but in general, I think the answer is an exciting pilot. Exciting pilot. Interesting, not exciting plot. Exciting pilot. Okay, the thing about a pilot or any episode, but especially a pilot, it has to have its own beginning, middle, and end. And in that, you have to set up who the people are. That's what makes things exciting, is that you care about the people. That you say, oh, there's this person in this situation who has this thing they want and they have a problem about it. And you are left at the end. Usually there is some new element at the end of a pilot which adds a question. How are we going to resolve that with the fact that I like this person or I understand this person's problem? At the end of the pilot, a new thing comes up or is revealed or is in some way developed to make you want to watch more. To say, now I understand what this is about, this story. In Mad Men, we meet this guy named Don and a bunch of other people in this ad agency. And Don is having this like midlife crisis, and he seems like sort of adrift in New York. At the very end, we find out that he lives in the suburbs with a wife and 2 children. And we didn't even know that the whole first hour because he's sleeping around and he's having all these midlife crises. And finally he goes home and he's this happily married guy. And so now we are saying, how's that going to work out? What the heck is happening with this guy, Don? Plus all the other stories that were involved in that. So that's the answer. The answer is you don't reveal too much of the story. You reveal the question that the story will be. That's how you write a pilot. Okay. Michael Jode asked about ChatGPT. As I said, I will try and find and put in the link at the bottom after this episode is done to my full episode about that topic. My main thought about ChatGPT is like anything else with art, it has to be a tool. It can't do the work for you. Like if you are a painter, and you could have ChatGPT paint half of your painting, like do the outline, you've given up part of your creativity to a tool. And as long as you are doing that, you are, in my opinion, doing somewhat less valuable art. And the question is, did Andy Warhol do that? When he took somebody else's photograph and silkscreened it and colored it, the answer would be, did he do that? I would say not really, because he was taking the tool and transforming it. So yes, if you are using ChatGPT to create a composition, but the thing is, like, Andy Warhol created his own composition. He was using elements, just like sampling. He was sampling. It still wasn't. Is it my favorite art? No. It's nice, but it's not that great. It's a cool idea. It's a cool breakdown of the concept of art. But the main answer I have about ChatGPT is, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to have someone else do the work for you? And I mean someone else as in a person, or like if you were a writer and you called another writer and said, would you write the plot for me and then I'll come and I'll work on it? A lot of those choices that were made were creative choices, and you just didn't create them. Is it possible to do that? Of course it is. Can it do good work? Sure, it might. But overall, I just say, why would you want to do that? Okay, further questions. Okay, could you provide a workflow to start writing a screenplay? Okay, yes, I have done this already, and I will tell you where. My workflow for that is here. How to organize a project. It's a live stream. It's about 45 minutes long, but I use the live stream so that I can show you, share my desktop and show you, share my screen with my documents. How to organize a project. That I'm just writing down. I'm going to put a link to it in the description after this episode is over. I often get the advice, just write. No, I don't think so. I'm a fan of outlining. What should I say? That's what I say. When does dialogue come into play? Whenever it occurs to you, write it down. If you think of a good line, write it down. But I would outline. And I go into all of that. I also would suggest you do check why outline. That's a video I did. And how to outline. These are videos that I think will help with that question. There's also a bunch of, honestly, this whole playlist, the middle one there, screenwriting tools, skills, and craft. I go through a lot of this in detail. Plus, the better thing is you can pause it. You can say, oh, he said this one cool thing. Let me jot that down. Right now, I'm just blabbering. I organize those little 10-minute videos. They're smart. They're valuable. Use them. Okay. Can you balance a horror character with a humorous nature, like a clown, while maintaining? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The first thing I would say is look for examples in things you like, because the answer is, yeah, you'll find tons of them. I actually know someone who did an entire horror script. It's like a noir, bitter, angry noir thing set in a clown town. It was great. A guy named Jackson Birnbaum did a fabulous script about a film noir set in clown town. But the answer is humor and horror, humor and fear, humor and suspense. They often weave together beautifully. The best way I would say to figure that out for your own balance is A, do it the way you would enjoy seeing it, and B, do it the way things you have seen do it. For instance, the Coen brothers, they do it often. Blood Simple is both funny and horrifying. Is great. Blood Simple, by the way, if you have not seen it, Coen brothers' first film, but almost all their other films too, have this fabulous mix of humor and suspense or fear or horror. The future of screenwriters looks like, I don't actually believe that I don't believe that screenwriting is actually threatened by AI. I believe that the screenwriting business is somewhat threatened simply because executives are stupid enough to think that hey, we can just have an AI write this and we don't have to worry about some pesky writer. Very quickly, they're going to find that in fact, human beings are valuable. I pray that companies will finally recognize that human beings are valuable and that therefore they are worth paying. They are worth supporting and nurturing and involving. So are some screenwriters going to lose their jobs? Yes, but from good places, no. That's my personal take on it. I'm not a professional forecaster. The other day I got, you can only share your account with people in your household. I think, yes, Netflix. Yeah, that's a little, Netflix is cracking down, which is wild because originally they had advertising. It's like, hey, share Netflix with everybody. How to get around creative block. Follow all your advice, which some still managed to hit the wall. One step at a time, one day at a time. If you have not watched Fear of Writing, you might not think that is relevant, but the one that Fear of Writing talks about how I did it. Everyone's different. But also really, really important, small steps. I will try to put links on all these down in the description after this episode is done. But Harry, I would say a little bit, it's a question of how often you do it. If you can find a way to write often, even small amounts, even less ambitious, but write often, it's like I among my many anxieties, I used to be terrified to go outside of my neighborhood or to take the subway in New York City. And for years, I just didn't. I would rather wait 2 hours for a bus than go out in the subway and get there in half an hour. The first time you get on that subway, you are going to be sweating and horrified and barely able to hold on. The second time, pretty bad. The 50th time, not as bad. That is what I would say about writing, about creative block. Much of it will be taken care of. And also check some of my live streams. You'll see that I get into this topic a lot. I can't remember which ones, but there's one about like how do you get, I think I called it creative despair in the title of a live stream. It was in Ask Me Anything. So I would say that's my main thought on that. The main thing I know is that the more also, I have a video coming out soon called your writing process. And I have another one. I haven't shot it yet, but I will be releasing it in the next few weeks called Getting Stuck or Lost. And I watch those. Okay. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Talk about coming up with a great title for your story. This partly depends on what you think a great title is. For instance, there's a title, Swept Away by an Unusual Destiny in the Blue Sea of August. I like that title. Other people might say it's a little long. Some people say that a great title is something that somebody says in what I would say is try and sort through your impression of cool titles. One of the biggest problems with titles is they're getting used up. We are creating more and more stuff. And so therefore, just like names of characters and imagined worlds and plots in general, they're getting used up. You're not going to find one that's completely original. But see what kind you think are cool. Like some of them are just a summary. Hard Times, Great Expectations, Planet of the Apes, okay? It just tells you like a basic thing. This is going to be about Great Expectations. This is going to be about someone who is starting out in life and going off into the great world, right? Planet of the Apes, probably about a planet with apes that run it. So that's one kind. Then another kind is like, Gone Girl. Great thing. It's about a missing woman. Something that hooks into what you think the vibe is of your story. That's what I would say about coming up with a great title. I would say it is not necessary to have somebody speak the title in the story. Corporate greed is just a disguise for personal greed. That is the truth. Give Rick Kramer a gold star. I agree. I will put that on a t-shirt one day. Hey, Anthony, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really, that is so cool. Thank you. So you're glad you're here. Gene, hey, welcome. Remove the question is coming in front of the ears. That's okay. I put things in front of my face all the time. In fact, if I could, I would do this without my face being involved at all. One of the things I like least about doing this is my face. I try not to look at it. And you should see me trying to edit. Man, editing my videos, having to listen to 3 versions of every take, everything I say, and it's awful. I have compartmentalized. Disassociated is another word for it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Angeli. I really appreciate it. I'm writing sci-fi novel, which by nature has a lot of exposition on tech and alien things. Do you have tips on how to... I have real good tips here in a video I call Exposition Your New Best Friend, which is about screen exposition, which means mostly dialogue exposition, but also storytelling. The thing about novels is you can do anything. You could just stop and have dictionary definitions of things. You can have somebody who's an expert who lectures for 2 pages on a topic. Different styles have different ways of doing it. And the cool thing about fiction is they're all cool. You're allowed to do anything. You can just have a 5-page, summary of the world. And if you continue to focus it through so that it makes a good read, you can get away with it. Then you get somebody like Stieg Larsson, who did the Dragon Tattoo novels. He just kind of clunks it down. It just throws in tons of exposition because it was his interest and he wasn't that great a prose stylist. But they're good. It reads well. It's not good writing, but it's a good read. So the answer is, I would say, the more that you can... you know where else is a good one? World building. I don't have the thumbnail for it, but I did a video called World Building, in which I talk about the idea that exposition makes sense when it's related to the characters. And that's really my main point. If you were going to tell the entire history of this world, or the entire history of this building, or the entire meaning of technology, you're going to need to put into where are your characters running into that. Oh, you know who's really good at this? Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton's novels are dynamite. They are so the movies that came out of them are terrible, but Michael Crichton. See, let me see if I can hang on. Okay, this guy. If you are looking for how to do cool exposition, let me see if I can. I'm trying to make this bigger, but I can't seem to get the. There we go. Okay, Michael Crichton. He wrote The Andromeda Strain. He wrote Jurassic Park. He wrote a really cool book about an airplane accident called Airstream, Windstream, something like that. He writes. He. That's what he does. He blends research and technology and fiction beautifully. I would just strongly advise. He wrote a book under the title called A Case of Need, which is a medical mystery thriller. Great. Hey, Gary. Scary icon, but hi. Any advice in adding side plots, especially for a TV show? I feel like yes, I did a whole episode on that called B Story. I will try and put a link down in the one of these Ask Me Anythings. So it'll have the yellow with the black type, yellow background, black type. Ask Me Anything. One of them will be about how do you do a B story. That's what it's called, B story. The main story is the A story. Subplots are B stories, or C or D or whatever. So Mira, that's what I would say is my best advice. But the main advice I would have is outline. If you outline, you can weave them. You can say, what is the purpose of this B story? Who are we following in it? You know where else you can find good stuff about that? There's character arcs. This video that I did, I'm sorry, I'm jotting notes so that I can try to add links down at the bottom. Building character arcs. I talk about essentially creating B stories. Okay. About AI, it is doing the work. Producers don't care about it. Well, yes. I suspect that because it is an art form, the business is built on an art form, Everyone will constantly have to be relating to the fact that it can't be moneyballed. It can't be completely algorithmed. There is a part of this art which requires human beings and artists, skilled artists, to do this in a way that connects to people. And as such, the artists will have a place, I believe. However, if those artists aren't careful and don't band together into a union, they will get screwed. And that is a valuable thing to fight that. Hi, Matt. This is interesting because I was actually working on a little thing about how the other way around, how lyric writing applies to screenwriting. The question is, how do you apply screenwriting to songwriting? It depends on the type of song, but my main the couple things. One, I would say creative process is creative process. I think that if you're writing songs or creating ceramics, you're still going to have, that's more physical, but you're still going to go through a creative process, and those tend to be shared among arts. The process of learning to trust your own instincts, the process of absorbing what you can of the art form and then choosing what in it you like and getting good at that, that's a process that is true for any art, and therefore all arts can use those lessons. The other thing that songwriting can do from screenwriting is learning about character and storytelling, and the idea that if you are writing in a certain voice, you want to understand the world from that person and see what they are trying to accomplish or what they are feeling. So that's it. That's the best I have on screenwriting to songwriting, because otherwise the form of songwriting is so different, because there isn't a narrative interplay between characters usually. Now and then there is. Lou Reed's song Street Hassle has several characters. Okay. I was really thinking today, it's June. Maybe, yes, I agree, nobody. I am glad to. I'm afraid people will say, this looks like something from a book I've never read. It must be plagiarism. What can I do about this thought? This thought is wrong. That's that's an interesting fear, actually. You're afraid that you'll be accused of plagiarism even though you're not doing plagiarism, but is that because you feel like your writing is too much like other writing? I would just say to recognize that thought is not applicable, like it's not related to a thing you've done. You're afraid of being accused of a thing you haven't done. So first of all, to a certain extent, remember, let me see if I can find this. This is a good slogan. Sorry. It's basically art problems. Here it is. Art problems have art solutions, which means if your problem doesn't have an art solution, it may not be an art problem. It may be an emotional problem, maybe a feeling problem, a life problem, in which case look into those things that help with that, like self-help books and articles, therapy, talking to people. There's a lot of stuff now out there to help yourself with a fear you can't get rid of, an intrusive thought, because this sounds like basically an intrusive thought. I have the fear. I'll tell you, I used to have the fear and the thought every time I crossed a street in New York City. In New York City, when you cross the street, there's cars turning in front of you, and they come quite close to you. And in those days, bumpers of cars were chrome attached metal. They went around the outside of the car, so there was an edge to the bumper that stuck out. And I was absolutely convinced every time a car came near me that the bumper was going to catch my knee and tear my knee off. It's an intrusive thought. Partly, you just have to get used to living with it, to say, I recognize this thought has been triggered in my neurons, but it's not actually likely. It's just what happened was I had the thought once and it got hooked into a deep path. And so the second time I had it, I was like, oh, I remember I had that thought. Well, now I've had it twice. So now I can have it 3 times and 4. It's not true because you have it a lot. You have it a lot because you have it a lot. So therefore, I would say, unless you're actually committing plagiarism, try to recognize that your intrusive thought it's just that. It's just a thought. Do your writing. Write what you like. Do the best you can, and see, if you know that you did not commit plagiarism, then you will be okay. The other thing is register your work. WGA.org. Let me see if I've got. Yeah. Boom. Okay, you can go to these two. If you're in America, I'm sorry. If you're in the USA, you can go to copyright.gov. It's a little more expensive, but it is pretty good. And it's legally strong. Or WGA.org, you can register a script. So if you write something, you can register it in those places so that you have proof that you wrote it on that date. And unless someone can prove that you read this other thing before then, and that included it, you're safe. That would be my suggestion. Hi, Donna Nelson. Yay, welcome. How's Australia doing? When does dialogue come into play? Traditionally, pretty late in the process. You want to know what your scene's about before you get people talking. But everybody's different. Some people figure out their plot by letting the characters talk. So I don't want to say there is no one way, Prakar. There's no one way to do this. You have to figure out the way that you want to do it by studying a lot of different ways and trying different ways. You got to try different ways. So the answer is, for me, and traditionally in Hollywood, the dialogue comes relatively late after the outline, because unless you have an outline, you won't know what the people are talking about. And then they'll just talk randomly, which can, frankly, produce some really cool stuff. So maybe a good idea. But overall, I would say dialogue is after you know who the characters are and what they're doing. That's me. Warner Brothers offers something called Writer's Workshop where you can... Yes, thank you, Matthew. Hi, Matthew. That is true. There are workshops for those of you who are looking to break in. Hold on, let me see. That was Dewanda. Dewanda earlier on in the hour asked about how to break in. There are, and you should look into them because there are more and more of these. There are studio-based or network-based or nonprofit-based companies that are trying to find new talent. And so they will have contests. The main thing remains, write good stuff. Write the best you can and keep doing that. Because if you write 20 scripts, you'll be 20 times better. Okay? You get better every time you write. So don't worry about whether or not your stuff sells. Keep doing it, and you are increasing your chances. Hi, Dr. Gonzo. I'm sorry if I missed you. I'm behind on the comments. I got your email, Dr. Gonzo. Hey, good to see you. Have a great dinner. Say hi to the family. Is YouTube the first time you're in front of the camera? Pretty much. I tried to do some acting in high school and college, and I was okay. I was terrible on camera. I did a short. I gave myself a small part. I saw myself in editing, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. I am not good enough at it. If I practiced, I would probably be better. But I love the Coens. Yes, Intolerable Cruelty. The Coens almost always, 90% of their stuff is great, in my opinion. Then now and then they mess up, as we all do. Thank you so much, JL. I appreciate it. Hi, Mudman. Okay, I'm going to be winding down. No more questions because I'm still way behind. Do you have a formula to raise the stakes in a screenplay? My screenplay. I did a video about this. I've already covered this brilliantly in a video. I don't have the thumbnail here, called Stakes. Go into the main menu to my channel. Go to the channel. In among these things with the big bold colors, you're going to see one that says Stakes, long short films. Stakes, and then I talk about stakes a lot. So there you go. I also think there is an AMA like this one with a yellow logo where I talk about stakes. I can't remember. I'm working on an index of all the things I talk about here. That's a lot of work. Thank you so much, Darian. I appreciate that. Yay! Praise for me. Yay! That's what I do it for. Thank you so much. I can't. I can't make a video for proper workflow. I can't do it because everybody's different. Everybody works differently. There is no single workflow. What you need to do is, first of all, pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to your own process and figure out what is productive and what is not. There is no official workflow. The things I do know, I have already put in my videos. Things about how to organize a project, how to outline. Those are what I have. Okay. Title draft, a rift in the crease, in the share seeds of time. Yes. Which will then, I don't even know what the anagram of that is, but it would be cool. ARITCITITITSFT. Yeah, that's gonna, the internet's gonna go crazy over that one. Fear of writing. The more personal the subject is, the scarier it is to some writers. That is true. Although, what I think is interesting is how much, yes, if you are writing about something personal, take into account that you are. Also, take into account why you are writing it so directly, and think about whether or not you maybe want to fictionalize it a little, make it safer to write, and also safer so that you don't accidentally hurt someone's feelings that you don't want to. If you want to hurt their feelings, go with it. Take your chances. Just recognize that you're doing it. Hi, Adia. Thank you. You are welcome. I'm writing and she goes, yes. Oh, that's great. I am so glad. Doing your own stuff, I urge all of you to consider, if you can. Not all of us are made to go into production, in which case find people who are. If you are a writer who does not want to make your own stuff, you will find directors and actors who desperately want a writer to write stuff for them. That's the deal. Okay. Hi, Roddy. Absolutely. Marriage Story Part 2. My face is great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm still on the comments from half an hour ago. Okay. Freudian slip. I'm not sure what it was, Mudman, but it probably was. Okay. Frank Herbert used a glossary. Yes. Yeah. Different people will work, there's so many ways. Book of quotes. Yeah, think about your vibe, and also just throw stuff down. Brainstorm. Oh, this is the thing. Brainstorming. Well, I did. Oh, here it is. Brainstorming. This might help. Watch this video about coming up with titles. Brainstorming is when you have to let yourself just over time, figure stuff out. Just say oh, I thought of a title. And sometimes you think of a title and you don't even have anything for it. Write it down, put it in the pile, brainstorm it. But if you're thinking of titles about what you got, think about 50 titles. Think about a murder mystery, Crossed Swords at Midnight or whatever it is. And just write them all down, even the bad ones. You never know what's going to click. Welcome. What's the best phrase to use to write? I go into that partly here in how to, oops, sorry, wrong thing. Format. That's it. The answer is there is no best. It's what's best for you. I personally have been working in, if you are writing scripts, because I was working professionally, I used Final Draft because that's what everyone uses in the production. At least they did when I was writing. Before then, I just used word processing. But that's because there wasn't much before then. And these things get expensive. Do not spend a lot of money on something if you can avoid it. Sort of it is. Okay. Yes. Hi, Power Mad. Yeah, I assume that's me. I'm going to guess me. Do you have any idea how a kind of war movie turned the obvious war is bad theme on its head? Well, it's a sort of question of how you feel about it. What do you, first of all, sometimes you say a thing that's really well known, but you just say it really well in a way that we feel it in a new way. Also, it turn it on its head. That would mean that you don't think it's bad. In which case, by the way, there was already stuff like that. But the answer is, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce your first name, Wisikli, Jimmy. The answer is, how do you tell this story that is well used because it's true? And just because something's true doesn't mean, you shouldn't say it. You should say it if it's true. And the fact that other people have said it doesn't disqualify it from being worth you saying. I just saw a movie that I missed. My son just showed it to me because he was like, I can't believe we missed this. I think it's called The Mitchells versus the Machines, animated movie. It's great. It does not say anything remotely new, but it just says it in a really good way. So many things are like that. I would offer, Saving Private Ryan. It was like there was nothing new in Saving Private Ryan. There was the hook of the brothers, but that's it. Everything else was just, how can we get into the depth of war is bad? How can we say crime doesn't pay? How can we say whatever it is we want to say? There are no new things to say, almost always. Now and then a new thing. But most of the time we are saying things that we simply feel strongly. Or we just I want to do, maybe what you're saying is war is bad, but the bonds within it are good. Or who knows? You have to think about what you want to say. The answer is, how do you do that? You think about it. You think about what you want to say, and you try and do something that you believe, something you care about, worth writing about for you. Thank you, CG. Not for a couple years, at least. I just can't do the time. It's just a lot of emotional and personal work to do script consulting. How do you create a good relationship between two characters but still leave the door open for it to collapse at the climax of the story? I think you've kind of answered the question in there. If there's something good in their relationship, but there's also something bad, you make sure to show those two things. If they truly love each other, but one of them is a compulsive liar, there you go. If they truly love each other, but their countries are at war, if they truly love, if people are good partners in their profession, but politically different, or one of them has a problem with something that the other one is. The answer is, whatever the truth is about those characters, show it, dramatize it, let us see it, and let us see the progress of it. I think I can get him to change. I try to get him to change. He doesn't change. I really like working with him, but he's not changing. Maybe I have to leave. Maybe somebody advises me to leave. Maybe I find a way to live with it. The answer is, it's a great goal. Try and think about for you what the steps are of that thing. Okay, yay! All right. Word number 6. Yes. Oh, intrusive. Yes. Let the intrusive thoughts win me. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Okay. Greetings from Argentina. Greetings to Argentina. Very glad to have you here. Thank you for being here, Lucas. Okay. Saying hi, how? Hello. I assume that you do. Thumper, I saw you before. I knew you're here. It's great. Yes, an index would be great. I will work on that. What is your favorite kind of project to work on? One that I have not done before. Truly. Right now, one of the reasons I'm writing a novel is, A, I love novels. I love reading novels. But B, I've written a lot of scripts. I don't need to write another script. I have not written a lot of novels, and I want to. It's like what interests me is, how am I going to get that done? Oh, and that's really important. I did want to talk about this. How do I make this work? This is like a question you should constantly be thinking about. The answer to almost every question you are going to ask me is going to be, if you want to do that, just ask yourself, well, how do I make this work? It's not like, can I do it? Should I do it? It's, how do I make this work? How do I make a war movie work when the theme of war is bad is used? How do I make it work? Every question I get, the question that an artist has to ask themselves is, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I think would be cool? and how do I make it work? It could be outrageously difficult. It could be that it's been done so many times. It doesn't matter. The question is, what would I do to make that work for me as the imaginary audience? That's the answer to almost everything. How do you make it work? Looking at thumbnails and titles of movies on streams, it's testing what titles and images grab my attention. Yes, that's true. Jojo Rabbit is a great movie about war and not a war movie. Yes, absolutely. There are. That is completely true. There are so many. They were busy. The British Army was like right off the side of the screen. Oh, that's funny. Thank you, John. Did you method act any scenes when you were trying to create, like wearing worn-out carpet? I didn't have to. That was a sense memory. One of the things that method actors do is they'll do a thing called sense memory, where like you'll say like, what is it like to eat a hard-boiled egg? And in order to do that, you have to have eaten some hard-boiled eggs. And ideally, you will try and remember the sensations and the experience of it. I had a time many years of my life when I had shoes with holes in them and I put cardboard in them and sometimes it rained. So that one was just a sense memory, but thank you for asking. That's a good one. With that, I probably should go. I will be back Tuesday. I will be back Tuesday. Let me see. I think next Thursday I have family obligations. Oh no, I think I can still do it. I'll be back next week. Don't you worry. I will be here Tuesday, Thursday, 1 p.m. for more questions and improvisational answers. Okay. Watch the new Star Wars Andor show you. Yes, yeah, I have, and yes, Andor is well done, yeah, absolutely. Okay. I will see you all soon. See you next week. Yes, indeed. In the meantime, please, how do I make this work? That's the thing I want you to think. How do I make this work? In other words, yes, you can do whatever you want to do. How do you make it work? Okay, go write something.